I'm Catherine Hadro. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly. As Pope Leo XIV officially begins his ministry, he gets right to work, meeting with a U.S. delegation headed by Vice President J.D. Vance. Pathways to peace. President Trump speaks with Presidents Putin and Zelensky as he tries to work toward ending the bloodshed in Ukraine. Uphill battle. Former President Biden is diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight. President Donald Trump posts on Truth Social that Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations and the Vatican could be involved in a big way. The post came after the president spoke with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
President Trump said the call with Vladimir Putin lasted some 2 hours and that the tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent.
In the Rose Garden, President Donald Trump tells reporters,
and I think some progress has been made. It's a terrible situation going on over there. 5,000 young people every single week are being killed.
President Trump posted on Truth Social, Russia wants to do large-scale trade with the United States when this catastrophic bloodbath is over, and I agree. There is a tremendous opportunity for Russia to create massive amounts of jobs and wealth. Its potential is unlimited. Likewise, Ukraine can be a great beneficiary on trade in the process of rebuilding its country. After the call, Putin said Moscow is ready to work toward ending fighting in Ukraine. He said Russia was in favor of a peaceful settlement and that compromises would need to be found to suit both parties. Putin described the conversation with Trump as frank and meaningful. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine drags on, well into its fourth year, and more lives are claimed, including several in this Russian attack on a bus. This past weekend, the Kremlin launched its largest drone barrage against Ukraine since the start of the full-scale invasion in 2022. Firing a total of 273 exploding drones and decoys, that according to Ukraine's Air Force. Earlier, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed journalists in the briefing room.
The president has made it clear his goal is to see a ceasefire and to see this conflict come to an end. And he's grown weary and frustrated with both sides of the conflict. The president and his team have put an enormous amount of effort in solving this very complicated war that, again, began because of the last administration's weakness.
And while returning from Italy, Vice President J.D. Vance tells reporters he believes Putin doesn't quite know how to get out of the war and thinks that Putin may not have a strategy himself for how to unwind it.
If you think about this, he's got 1 million men under arms. He's re-engineered his entire economy. What used to be manufacturing facilities making products for people to use in their civilian life, they're now making tank shells and artillery shells and drones.
President Trump also posted on Truth Social that he spoke with world leaders, including Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, after the call with Putin, and he added that the Vatican is very interested in hosting the negotiations for peace. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
On the World Theater, Pope Leo XIV is certainly taking center stage, attracting delegations from across the globe as he settles into the Petrine office. This morning, the Holy Father met with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Vice President gave the Pope a Chicago Bears jersey with Pope Leo XIV written on the back. He also delivered an invitation from President Trump, asking Pope Leo to visit the White House as soon as he possibly can. Mr. Rubio also met with Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin on Saturday. Mr. Rubio expressed his heartfelt congratulations to Pope Leo on behalf of the United States. Another big meeting for the Pope was with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday. As of right now, there are no details of what that meeting entailed, but it happened after the Holy Father had met with the Russian ambassador to the Holy See, who then sat down with EWTN.
The ritual pacifies. First of all, it's not by chance that the Pope uses the word pace, pace, pace all the time in encyclicals, in his addresses, and the role of religion is to really to address the soul of a man. Politicians are also men and women, so the heart, the soul, and to bring up the best features of a man and transferring it into real political actions.
The ambassador also explained how faith is needed as a first step to end all conflict. Pope Leo formally began his ministry as head of the Catholic Church on Sunday by celebrating the inaugural Mass of his pontificate. He invited the Church to walk together along the path of God's love and to remain united in one family. EWTN's Zofia Chubak has more.
Pope Leo XIV officially celebrated the beginning of his pontificate as the 266th successor of St. Peter and the head of the Catholic Church. Over 150,000 people attended the ceremony on Sunday in St. Peter's Square, which was marked by the Pope's first ride in the famed Pope-mobile around the square and the nearby area ahead of the Mass, greeting and blessing all the faithful. The Mass was attended by world leaders including US Vice President J.D. Vance, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and representatives of other churches and religions. During his homily, Pope Leo commemorated the pontificate of Pope Francis and expressed his gratitude for the prayerful support he and the cardinals received during the conclave.
I was chosen without any merit of my own, and now, with fear and trembling, I come to you as a brother, who desires to be the servant of your faith and your joy, walking with you on the path of God's love, for He wants us all to be united in one family.
The Holy Father expressed his hope for a united church, a sign of unity and communion, which becomes a leaven for a reconciled world. Among the crowds that had waited since the early hours of the morning were faithful for whom attending the Mass was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
It was a very special moment for us and very touchable to heart.
We are absolutely excited about it. In fact, we're from Chicago, and it just so happened that our family vacation happened to work out. We were able to see the inauguration.
During the liturgy, Pope Leo XIV received two significant symbols of his papacy. He was first given the pallium, made from lamb's wool, which signifies the Pope's jurisdiction over the Church and its supreme shepherd calling, the lost sheep home. Then he received the fisherman's ring with an image of Peter casting his net, representing his role and duties as the successor of Peter, whom Jesus called to be a fisher of men.
Very beautiful. There was a high sense of respect, a high sense of recollection, and a high sense of acknowledgement, and even the welcome of the Holy Father.
It's so exciting actually to be here as a Catholic person and to just see the Pope. It's just, I can't describe it actually, it's just amazing.
Before singing the Regina Coeli, Pope Leo XIV encouraged everyone to remember those suffering in conflict-driven zones, calling upon the intercession of Our Lady.
Let us, from the bark of Peter, look to her, Star of the Sea, Our Lady of Good Counsel, as a sign of hope. We implore her intercession for the gift of peace, for support and comfort for those who suffer, and for the grace for all of us to be witnesses to the risen Lord.
In Rome, Zofia Chubak, EWTN News Nightly.
The massive reconciliation bill key to President Donald Trump's agenda is one step closer to making it to his desk. In a rare late-night Sunday vote, the House Budget Committee passed it. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us in the studio with more on the legislation and its potential timeline.
Well, good evening, Catherine. Yes, the budget reconciliation bill did pass the Budget Committee, but it was not without controversy. A quartet of conservative Republicans decided to vote present rather than derail the legislation for a second time. Bottom line, both Speaker Mike Johnson and top House Republicans have a lot of negotiating to get this bill out of the House and over to the Senate.
Tonight, the House Budget Committee took a critical step to passing the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and making President Trump's America First vision a reality for the American people.
A bill that changes Medicaid and extends trillions of dollars in tax cuts is now over a key hurdle, despite Democrats objecting.
The bill that's in front of us, making sure all the members know transparently just what the heck is in this thing, because obviously it's changing back in that back room by the minute. And then the second thing is what exactly the score is according to CBI.
Now Speaker Johnson is trying to get GOP moderates and fiscal hawks to come together.
We have several more to take care of, but I'm looking forward to very thoughtful discussions, very productive discussions over the next few days, and I'm absolutely convinced we're going to get this in final form and pass it.
The bill includes a quicker timeline for new Medicaid work requirements and slashing of clean energy tax credits.
There is nothing wrong with us bringing the government in balance, but there is a problem when that balance comes on the back of working men and women.
Both President Trump and Speaker Johnson will have to convince a few hardline Republicans who want changes to support the bill.
This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits. The fact of the matter is, on the spending, what we're dealing with here on tax cuts and spending, a massive front-loaded deficit increase.
The House Rules Committee will hold a hearing on the package early Wednesday morning to make any final changes before it goes to the House floor for a vote. The House Republican leadership is warning members that they won't be going home for the Memorial Day recess until the House passes the reconciliation bill. Bottom line, it's a make or break week for the president's agenda. Catherine?
Thank you, Eric. Despite having a mixed day on Wall Street, markets closed up. It comes after Moody's Ratings stripped the U.S. of its last AAA credit rating. It says the decision was based on an increase in government debt and interest payment ratios. The president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta says the move complicates the inflation outlook. Financial experts warn that when the country's credit rating goes down, the expectation is that the cost of borrowing will increase. The first aid trucks have entered the Gaza Strip, bringing much-needed relief to locals after nearly 3 months of an Israeli blockade on food, medicine, and other supplies. Trucks carrying baby food and other aid crossed into the territory amid concerns of a famine. The United Nations called it a welcome development, but said far more aid is needed to address the humanitarian crisis. Israeli officials say this influx of aid is acting as a bridge until a new U.S.-backed operation takes over.
Israel is now allowing the supply of such items to the population. This will continue until the beginning of the operation of the new fund, a matter of days. The purpose of this is to temporarily bridge the current needs until the fund's operation begins and supplies these items.
This comes as Israel launches a new wave of air and ground operations into Gaza while ordering the evacuation of the city Khan Yunis. Israel says the latest offensive is a bid to pressure Hamas to release any remaining hostages. 2 are dead, 19 others injured, and an investigation is underway after a naval ship crashed into New York City's Brooklyn Bridge. This was the scene on Saturday. The ship belongs to the Mexican Navy. It's a training vessel and was on a goodwill tour in America. Video shows the 3-masted ship drifting backward toward the Brooklyn Bridge. As of right now, it is unknown what caused the crash. An investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board will likely take months. We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly, including a grim diagnosis. Former President Joe Biden announces he has an aggressive form of cancer, how bad it is, and what doctors have to say. Welcome back. Well wishes are pouring in for former President Joe Biden after his office revealed the former president has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Among leaders chiming in, President Trump posted on Truth Social wishing the 82-year-old a speedy recovery. Biden publicly commented on the diagnosis on X, saying in part, quote, "We are strongest in the broken places." The CDC says prostate cancer is one of the leading causes of death among U.S. men. Joining us now to break this all down is Dr. Keith Kowalczyk, chair of the Department of Urology at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital right here in the nation's capital. Doctor, thanks for joining us. We know the former president's office has described his case as an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Is this form of cancer typically caught before it gets to be this severe?
It typically is. For most patients, it's caught at a very, very early stage with PSA screening at younger ages, which is a blood test that men get, especially high-risk men get, to hopefully find prostate cancer before it gets to this stage and this grade. But unfortunately, we do see cases like this, so this is not uncommon.
We also heard that the cancer has metastasized to the bone. However, it is hormone sensitive. Doctor, can you explain what that all means?
Yeah, so, President Biden has the highest grade of cancer that there can be, which means it's very, very aggressive. So it's not uncommon to see that the cancer has spread beyond the prostate, normally to bone or to lymph nodes. So it has spread beyond the prostate is essentially what it means when it went to bone. Key factor here is we don't know how much it has spread to bone. Sometimes it's just one spot, sometimes it's multiple spots. But the key here is that he'll need what's called systemic therapy. We're not really looking at surgery or radiation to cure this disease. We're looking at treatments that can control it. And that's with what we call hormonal therapies that control testosterone levels. Prostate cancer needs testosterone to grow. So when it's hormone sensitive, that's generally when it's first being treated. That means that it should be very, very treatable at this stage and hopefully for a long period of time.
Given your expertise in this field, doctor, how soon do you start looking for warning signs of this type of cancer, especially in elderly patients?
It's real difficult, especially in elderly patients, as you said. So we recommend screening for at-risk patients. So if you have a brother or father, Black patient, if you have a history of BRCA2 gene, which is most commonly known for breast cancer and ovarian cancer, but actually those men are at higher risk for prostate cancer, we recommend starting screening or asking your primary care physician at about 45. For the rest of the general population, between 55 and 69 is when most men are diagnosed with a curable form of prostate cancer. So that's where we really focus our screening. If patients get beyond 69 into their 70s and they haven't had any of these risk factors, they haven't had a high PSA, we don't recommend routine screening. That's a conversation between the primary care physician or the urologist, the physician, and the patient. So with President Biden, I think being about 82 years old, that's not a patient that we would be screening for prostate cancer in most cases because it, quite frankly, is usually not lethal at those ages. And there's usually a lot of what we call competing risks. There's other health problems that are more threatening to patients that are older than prostate cancer. And it's a tightrope that we have to walk. You can still check it every once in a while, but sometimes it leads you down a rabbit hole you don't want to go down. And sometimes, you do have cases like this. But the good news is it should be very, very treatable, at least at this stage.
Well, we're so grateful for your expertise as we all just join in prayer for our former president, Dr. Kowalczyk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Biden's diagnosis adds to the latest in a stream of reports raising questions about the former president's health. Now, newly released tapes are also providing insight on Biden's mental acuity during his time in office. The tapes were published by Axios. They contain an interview between Mr. Biden and former special counsel Robert Hur. Hur was assigned to investigate the former president's handling of classified documents. The interview released on the tapes show Mr. Biden struggling to recall details such as the date of his son's death, when he left the Senate, and when President Trump won the election in 2016. Special counsel Hur decided not to press charges against then-President Biden. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, a modern take on an ancient Catholic tradition.
A beautiful thing to see today is as we drove through towns, people getting out of their vehicles to stop and kneel and adore our Lord even for just a moment.
From riding in cars to pounding the pavement, the National Eucharistic Pilgrimage is underway. EWTN was there for the kickoff, and we tell you why processions carrying statues of the crucified Christ filled Rome's streets over the weekend. Thousands of faithful took to the streets of Rome on Saturday to participate in elaborate and beautiful processions by members of Catholic confraternities from around the world. The Saturday processions were held to mark the Jubilee of Confraternities, which ended yesterday. Confraternities are Christian voluntary associations often coordinated by lay women or lay men to promote charitable works, devotional life, or a particular mission in the church. Many date back hundreds of years. The legacy of the National Eucharistic Pilgrimage endures in 2025 as another historic cross-country journey kicks off. Pilgrims are following the St. Catherine Drexel route. It passes through 10 states as well as through 20 Catholic dioceses and 4 Eastern Catholic eparchies. EWTN correspondent Mark Irons is on the ground with the latest.
The 2025 National Eucharistic Pilgrimage from Indianapolis to Los Angeles is underway, and we're at just one of the parish stops here in Illinois on day one of the pilgrimage. It all started in Indianapolis with a kickoff mass celebrated by Archbishop Charles Thompson.
Truth is a person, Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. And that's what this procession is all about. Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life, being proclaimed, being adored, being worshiped.
8 young adults who will join for the entirety of the pilgrimage packed in a van with the Blessed Sacrament and headed up to the Diocese of Joliet in Illinois. Before this spiritual journey began, we heard from some of those pilgrims.
I think to bring the Eucharist to so many different communities, rural, urban, places of suffering, it's going to be so moving to witness Jesus draw hearts to himself.
I really hope that we can just take Jesus out to meet the people. I think a beautiful thing to see today is as we drove through towns, people getting out of their vehicles to stop and kneel and adore our Lord even for just a moment.
I think the message of pilgrimage is very similar to the gift of the incarnation of Christ came to be with us. He came, he took on flesh to walk with us and to love us in our daily life. So yes, that happens within the walls of the church, but even more so that happens in our homes, in our streets, at our jobs. And so the love of Christ is with us wherever we go, and he has come here to be with us.
This journey continues, and we'll have coverage along the entire way. I'm Mark Irons, EWTN News Nightly.
We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Catherine Hadro. Good night, and God bless.